Okay, so here's part 2 of our 2-part series on making this track. So we got our sounds on the MicroBrute, figured out what we want to do with that. So now we're going to play our parts into GarageBand and look at how that came together. So let's see. Okay, so let's look at some drum sounds to get started. So here's our kick sound. Sounds kind of like what we got out of the MicroBrute. A little bit different because it's analog. It's always going to be a little bit different. Every patch is going to be a little bit different. So let's see what we can do with some compression. Brings it out a little bit. We'll add some EQ. So without, with, find some overdrive to thicken it up a bit. Let's check out our snare now. It sounds kind of wimpy just by itself. Let's try putting some compression on it. There we go. Very similar settings to our kick drum. Let's put some EQ on it. Helps to clean it up a little bit in the low end, bring out the fundamental. Finally, reverb. We got some plate reverb over there to really bring it up. Okay, now let's check out our cymbal sounds and our clap. So our clap sound is kind of a combination of cymbal sound and snare sound. Kind of like a snare sound, but with more release on the envelope. You can hear just that. So it has a little bit of reverb like the snare, and some basic compression, EQ, much like the snare. And then our hi-hats, just a little bit of EQ. Spice it up a little bit. Crash, same kind of thing. Okay, now let's look at our bass. So bass, of course, is often at the heart of every good track. So let's listen to that. Now let's look at our bass track. So the bass, of course, is always at the heart of any good track. Let's listen to how it came out of the synth. Not too bad. Let's put some compression on it, just like you would on a bass guitar. Just kind of brings it up a little bit. Brings up the attack. Sounds good. Now let's add some EQ to actually roll off some of the low end and bring up our harmonics here, much as you would on a bass guitar. And you notice the tone actually kind of changes here. That's because I played this part and then I did something else, and then I came in and recorded this part, and I had a slightly different patch on the synth because our patches are always a little bit different every time, which is kind of part of the charm of analog synths, but can also be annoying. But here I like it. It's got a little bit of a glide between the notes there, our portamento. So this bass sounded pretty good, and I put some bass amp on it too. Just kind of rounded it off a little bit. And then I put some bass amp on it. To kind of give it a little roundness, kind of smooth it a little bit. Didn't want it to be fighting the other tones happening too much. But I still wanted more. So what I did was I doubled, or I duplicated, all of these tracks into its own channel in GarageBand, and then I used GarageBand's flex pitch feature. Let's see that, to pitch up this region, pitch that up 12 semitones, so a whole octave, and then I pitched this one up as well, and then this one I pitched down 12 half steps, so down a whole octave to give it a sub bass sound. And same with this one. That one went up again, and then that one's up. So that sounds like this. So you notice that it sounds a little glitchy with those portamento glides, but I thought that sounded kind of cool, so I kept it. So let's hear those two together now. Just adds a little bit. And you remember we did a little sound effect, so that's what we hear at the very beginning. That's fun. And then we have our lead sound. A little melody. So we had some effects on that as well. So we did some EQing, lost some low end to keep it clean, keep our low end clean, and then in our pedal board we have a couple of effects. Ostensibly these are guitar effects, but of course they can be used on anything. So we have our robo flanger and our tape delay. Flanger gives it some stereo width and kind of makes up for the fact that it's only a one oscillator synthesizer. And then our delay just gives it some space. And you see later on here I added a melody line just for fun. That's fun. So that's our lead sound. Let's check out our arpeggio that we did. So the first thing I did with the arpeggio was I actually quantized it. So that means I used GarageBand to make every note the exact right time. So you see all these ones that are white or gray, those are the ones that GarageBand has fixed the timing for me. So everything lines up nice and tight. So let's hear what that sounds like. Cute little square wave sound. Of course we can add some effects. Let's put our EQ on there as well. Not really doing a whole lot. Then we use our pedal board again. So here we're only using the flanger on this one. So again, add some width. And here we're using a stereo delay, not in the pedal board. This is a slightly different delay we have in GarageBand. That is a stereo delay. So it splits up the signal into two different delays. and I don't know, I just like it. So let's hear the whole thing. So there you go. That's it.